think we get started here as people trickle in. How's everybody doing? Doing all right? Thursday, almost end of the week. Feeling pretty good? Like, how many people have been to more than like 4 or 5 of these talks? A few guys. How many have been to none? Okay, good. Thanks for representing there in the back. That's good stuff. So, real quick, my name is Justin Abazin. I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about virtual reality and augmented reality and some of the things that you could be doing now to prepare for advertising in this type of virtual world. A few things about myself. I'm a business development manager from New York City. What that means is I help small and medium businesses pretty much grow their digital marketing campaigns online using Google. So that's Google AdWords, that's search, that's display, that's YouTube and video, and all of those types of things. And now it's trending into the virtual reality world, which we'll talk about in a second as we get into this thing. But if you have any questions regarding not only video, but also just search and growing, a small company with a small budget online, let me know. Now, disclaimer, most of these things that I'm talking about today are global and or US related content. Just because virtual reality is very young in its development, there's not a lot of data around Korea specifically or other countries specifically. So we have some data about the United States and then global statistics. Now this picture, I put it up here. It's going to be important later on in the presentation. It's probably the coolest picture I have of myself. It's when I was in Uganda. I was in the rainforest and a bunch of gorillas came up around my area, and I snapped the picture. So I thought it was really cool. Put it on Instagram, one of those deals where I thought it was awesome. But before we get started, there's a few things I want to discuss because I've talked to a bunch of people over the last 2 weeks while I've been here about, not only virtual reality, but digital marketing and video. And they were asking me about this presentation and what's going to be covered. So I want to just, demystify a few things before we get started, just so you're not either excited about something and it's not going to show up or the other way around, okay? So first thing, VR advertising. The myth is that VR advertising is starting to blow up. The truth is, it is not. It's at the very early stages right now. People are just starting to build content, and virtual reality advertising in and of itself is actually at the beginning to almost non-existent. Second thing, this talk is going to be about all the cool things VR does. While yes, we will be mentioning some cool things, the main reason for this talk is how and why should we be preparing for advertising our companies and our brands in the VR world. Third thing, this is not going to be a technical conversation. So if you are an engineer expecting a lot of technical stuff about VR, I hate to disappoint you, but this is not what this is about. This is more about the marketing side of things and a high-level understanding and overview of the actual environment. And finally, just a disclaimer, you should not be thinking about advertising on VR, or should not be focusing marketing on VR right now. This is more of an understanding of what it is, so down the road, I will prepare your company for success when VR starts becoming more prominent. So what we're going to talk about today is a few things. First and foremost, why are we even talking about virtual reality right now? Next, we'll go into what is virtual reality as far as a definition, and what does it actually mean? And then what are brands doing in advertising right now that are helping their companies grow user base in VR and help their brands online? Then we'll talk about what we can do to prepare, and then a few key takeaways and questions after that. So first things first, why VR? Most important question, right? So this graph is a demonstration of progression and innovation and how humans see progression and how technology actually progresses. So if you look at this black line, this is how people see progression. We see it linearly. So when we talk about progression, we say 1, 2, 3. The next thing you would say is probably 4, 5, 6, right? Well, technology moves exponentially, and it moves a lot faster than we could really comprehend. And that changes the game with a lot of things, and it changes how we view technology in the early stages, which is disappointment, to when it actually booms, which is all-out excitement. And I'll give you an example with mobile. So mobile came out in 2007, the iPhone came out, first smartphone. Everyone was pretty excited about it, but mostly they were skeptical, right? It was slow internet, it was clunky, battery was low. People really weren't that excited about it. So it was really, when you got it, you were a little disappointed. Still, you know, the real nuts, the tech people who loved it, they loved it, but we were kind of disappointed. And then the iPhone 4 came out, and the Samsung came out, and all the other different Androids came out. And we started realizing slowly that, hey, smartphones are pretty cool, and they could do a lot. And then the batteries got better, internet got faster, broadband got faster, and eventually what happens is you hit this inflection point. And what happens is there becomes enough user base and enough consumers want to use an iPhone or a Samsung, and it explodes. And what I mean by that is at Google, we obviously see technology moving faster than the regular consumer, right? And marketers or companies, they follow the consumer. So they're 2 steps behind because they want to be where the consumer is at every stage in the game. So what happens is they don't really prepare for what's coming ahead. So with mobile, about 5 years ago at Google, we were saying, hey, now's the time to get on mobile. You have to get your companies to optimize your mobile website. You have to start looking at advertising. This is where people will start searching for all of your products. And everyone was kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of cool, I get it, but to put my money there and to spend money on that, it just doesn't really make sense right now. Everyone's on desktop. Everyone's still watching TV. Like, these are the places I want to spend. 3 years ago, we said, hey, it's not too late. You can still get on mobile. Like, this is blowing up. It's about time you guys really start optimizing your sites. And then companies were like, you know what? This is probably a good idea. I'm walking around town. I see everybody on their smartphones. Everybody's starting to watch videos. You know, this is probably the next big thing. And now we say, you know what? If you're not on mobile, you are not going to compete with the rest of your competitors. It's just not going to happen. And so what we see is technology's moving this way. We're here. Now everybody loves mobile. Everyone's excited about it. And people are scrambling to get their websites optimized and get their advertising up. And we see this happen with every single big technological innovation. It happened before mobile with the internet, when we said time to get on digital and everyone was still doing TV and newspapers. And it's happening now with video. Video is just hitting that inflection point where people are starting to realize, hey, this is probably pretty important, right? And that's why, we've seen a few of these talks have been about branding and YouTube and things like that, Facebook, because video is becoming more and more important to the point where by 2019, they say that 80% of all internet consumption is going to be done on video. 80%. That's worldwide. That's pretty significant. So video right now is here, and it's going to be shooting up. And then in 3 years, you're going to be saying, man, video, like, no brainer. That's an easy one. Well, the reason we're talking about virtual reality is because virtual reality is still down here. And it's down there. When it's down there, what does it mean? It means it's too expensive. It's too hard to figure out. Not many people are using it. Most people say, oh, it's just for gamers or people who play video games. All of these things. So the user base is still behind. And if the user base is behind, guess where the advertisers are? Way behind. But guess where technology is moving? So if technology is moving this way, that's why we're having the talk. Not necessarily to start advertising in VR right away, but to understand that in a couple of years, it's going to become more and more significant. The products are going to get cheaper. It's going to be more easily accessible, and more people are going to be using it. Does that make sense to everybody? So to give you a quick example of what I mean by technology moving fast, I really like just doing things in pictures because I think it's a lot easier to understand. 2005, this is the Pope's inauguration in Vatican City in Rome. Pope Benedict inauguration, 2005, so this is 2 years before the smartphone. You can see here, we got one phone in the picture, the little flip guy. All right? And we don't even know if he's taking a picture or not. He might be just trying to text somebody. Fast forward 8 years, same thing, Pope Francis, 2013. Every single person's got a smartphone, we got even one big iPad. It just shows you how fast technology can move. And now, not only are they taking pictures, but now they want to share them. They want to post them. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. They're on Snapchat. They're on G+. Anyone? No? Just kidding, guys. I knew nobody used it. It's okay. But this just goes to show that in just 8 short years, this is what technology could be like. From nobody using it, nobody even knowing about it, to now everybody not being able to live without it. And why? And so what does that mean for advertisers? Well, this is kind of a timeline of the different advertising ages that have come across in the past few decades. And we're going to start with the broadcast age because that's really the most significant to start with. So the broadcast age is television, it's newspapers, and it's billboards. When our parents wanted to go home and be entertained, they turned on the TV. And whatever was on the TV, they watched, and whatever commercials there were, they had to watch. So advertising was easy. We get a commercial, someone's got to be watching it. We don't have a choice in what comes on, we just got to sit there and watch it. You read a newspaper, the only thing you get to read are the people who put ads in the newspaper. Same with you're driving down the street, the only thing you see is billboards of people who paid for billboards. Well, then comes the information age, and that's the Google and the Amazons of the world, the Navers, where now the actual action shifts from the advertiser to the consumer. Now we have a say of what we want to search for, what we want to look for. We have a say of what we want to watch. So now the advertiser has to adapt to what we want. Right? And as a company, you have to adapt to what your consumer wants. So you have to be there when your consumer is looking for your product and wants to watch your videos. So it changes the game a little bit, very significantly. And now we're starting to see the participation age, which is now the Facebooks, the YouTubes, where people not only want to watch or want to search, now they want to interact. They want to not only interact with the brands, they want to interact with other people. They want to give reviews, they want to share. They want the brand to interact with them. They want personal, they want customizable experiences. They want to be immersed in the brand. And if you can't do that for the next generation coming up, then you're going to have a problem with your brand. And that's where the VR is going to come into play, because if participation age is the next step and sharing and immersion is the next step, what's more immersive than virtual reality? To give you another quick example of what I mean by customized and personalized, I was at the gym in New York City before I came out here. And at our gym, right over here on the left-hand side, there's like 20 televisions, right? And all of these televisions have news, they have sports, they have everything on. That'd be the broadcasting age, right? Do these guys look interested in the TVs? Now, one could argue that he should probably be doing a little more working out and exercising than watching his videos. But they're watching videos on their phone with their headphones in instead of looking at all the other stuff, all the other displays, because they want to watch what they want to watch, and they want a personalized, customized experience. Even at the gym, it's everywhere. Mobile makes everything on the go, so you have to be ready for that. So how immersive is VR, right? How cool is it? Who here has tried a VR headset? Great. What do we think? Do we like it? If we like it, raise our hand. If we thought it was, keep your hand down. Who liked it? We got 1, 2. So this is what we mean by, is it ready? No, most people are like, I don't know, right? Well, we have a few more expensive, more immersive VR headsets at Google that we use that are not actually out for sale because they're too expensive. We're trying to make them better. But we did a test. We took a bunch of employees, we put them in this room, and we said, okay, we're going to put a virtual reality headset on you, and we're going to put you on a diving board walking off a cliff. All we want you to do is take one step. And then before they put them on, we put this guy here. We said, listen, it's going to be okay. Even if you take one step in this room, this guy will catch you. So what do you think happened? They put on the headset. Over half the people couldn't take the step. In the room, half the people couldn't take a step. It's that immersive that people, literally, their brains thought they were sitting on a diving board walking off a cliff. That's the kind of immersion that you're going to be seeing down the road. Not right now, but that's what it's going to be. And that's the kind of experience that people get a taste of that. That's what they're going to expect. They're going to want. So just to show you that the interest is actually growing, in global searches virtual reality, it grew 4x last year. And users is actually growing significantly and exponentially too. Now, this bar graph, what does it look like? It looks kind of like that exponential curve that we talked about in the first few slides, right? It's just going to show that the users are just going to keep climbing, and as this hardware gets easier and easier to access and cheaper and easier for you guys to use as advertisers, more and more experiences are going to be coming about, which means more and more users are going to want to use it. So that's the why. Now let's just take a little dive into what VR actually is and how brands are actually using it now. And the disclaimer is now when we talk about these brands, they're obviously not startups, right? These are people that have a lot of money to spend on research and development and a lot of money to waste on, these virtual reality brandings. When I say waste, I mean waste in the sense that it may not be driving performance and conversions to their website. So these are the key stages of virtual reality. You have the 360 media, which most of you have probably seen on Facebook and YouTube. It's the videos where you can kind of move them around a little bit and kind of use the arrows. Next, you have the VR video, which is slightly immersed or partially immersed. Now, the best thing for that is the Google Cardboard because it's the cheapest and easiest. What this means is you can use your mobile phone, you put it in the cardboard, and you're not fully immersed into an environment because you're just holding it up, but it still gives you some sort of 3D feel. Finally, you have full immersion, okay? Right now, most headsets, full immersion, are with the mobile device. There are some, and we are coming out with more of full-on free headsets without your PC, without your mobile device, and anything like that. So it's just a full VR experience. But we're going to concentrate right now on the mobile device because it's very significant to understand that even with your phone, you could be fully immersed in a VR world. And then finally, a little separately, we'll talk a little bit about augmented reality, which is the difference between augmented and virtual. Is virtual, you're going into a world that you want to go into, where augmented is you're bringing a world to your current position. So you're overlaying technology into your everyday life. 360 media is the only form of VR advertising that you can do right now. Just so we're clear. And the key is, what brands are doing is they put this on YouTube or on Facebook and they entice people. They get them interested. And when they get them interested, the next thing they want to do is, if they have a cardboard or the brand sends them a cardboard, they're like, hey, that's pretty cool. They plop the phone right in the cardboard, and then they look and they do a little more experiencing. Maybe it's a minute, maybe it's 2 minutes. And then for the really dedicated people who have a headset, they're like, whoa, let me spend some more time with this brand. They got some cool videos, and they put on the headset. And when they put on the headset and they're fully immersed in your brand, that's considered a win for the big brands. That makes sense to everybody? I'll show you here. So 360 media is at top. This is a funnel from pretty much easy scale and accessibility to advanced VR. So 360 gives you the most eyeballs. All right, you put it on the internet, everyone can search it, everyone can watch it. It takes the least amount of time and money, so it's the cheapest for you to make, and cheapest, obviously, to advertise. Next comes the ad playback and the cardboard. A little less eyeballs because you got to have a cardboard to actually use it, and a little more money because if you want people to use it, usually you got to send them a cardboard, right? And then finally, you have the VR headset, which is super expensive. All right, not many people are using it because you got to have a VR headset, and let's face it, not many people have VR headsets right now, and it's very time-consuming and labor-intensive to actually build these out. So we're going to look at each one of these steps and phases and see how brands are actually using it today. First phase, 360 media. Okay, there's two types. Obviously, you use it on the desktop, where you're using the mouse to move it around, and then you can do it on your mobile phone, where you're kind of just playing with your finger. Okay, either way, both of them are pretty interesting. And some would say more interesting than a video. Some would say, you know what, sometimes I just want to sit back and watch a video. I don't need to do this. All right? And we'll talk about that in a second. And finally, the third form is you actually move your phone around and the screen moves with you. Now, going back to my original picture, which one's cooler? Not just because I'm in it. Which one's actually cooler? That's right. This one, now, ideally is my face, when I'm moving that around, if a guy's moving it, my face pops up and I'm there. And he's like, holy crap, there's Justin in the picture. That's what's going to happen instead of just this. We think this is cool now. This is going to be boring when we could be doing that. So to give you a quick example, Columbia Sportswear is an American outdoor brand, right? They do outdoor clothing. And they wanted to test what's the difference between a regular video and a 360 video. So they pretty much made the same exact advertisement on YouTube, and they tested it out. And I'm going to show you each one so you get an idea of the difference. So the video is geared towards the Olympics, and it's two American female skiers skiing in Chile. So we'll take a look.
I'm Keaton Cargo. I am a freestyle mogul skier on the U.S. ski team.
I'm Hannah Carney. I'm here in Chile with Columbia, skiing with Keaton, building some bumps, hitting some jumps, and I feel like I get to pass along some of my wisdom. It's almost impossible to predict the future of the ski team, but if I had to put money on who's going to the next Olympics, Keaton will be there.
I want to learn how to win from Hannah. That's what I want to learn, how to mentally be capable to step into the gate at a competition and just block out everything and just ski.
All right, so that's the regular video. Now we'll look at the 360 video, and I'll play around with it just so you get a better understanding of what's actually going on here.
I'm Keaton Cargo. I am a freestyle mogul skier on the U.S. ski team.
I'm Hannah Carney. I'm here in Chile with Columbia, skiing with Keaton, building some bumps, hitting some jumps, and I feel like I get to pass along some of my wisdom. It's almost impossible to predict the future of the ski team, but if I had to put money on who's going to the next Olympics, Keaton will be there.
I want to learn how to win from Hannah. That's what I want to learn, how to mentally be capable to step into the gate at a competition and just block out everything and just ski.
All right, so you can see the two different experiences that you have with virtual reality, 360, and regular video, right? So we compared the results. And when we compared the results, we said that we realized that there was actually more views on the standard ad. People watched the entire ad more on the standard video. And we realized because some people just want to sit back and relax and watch it, right? But the reality is that there was actually more actions done on the 360 video. And what we mean by that is people watched it for maybe 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 50 seconds, and then they clicked and they wanted to see more things. So they clicked on another Columbia 360 ad. Then they went to the website. Then they subscribed to the video channel. All right, they shared with their friends. So 41% more actions done on the 360 video than the regular video is a significant factor when you're looking at trying to advertise these online. Right? And that just goes to show that even though these standard ones still work and you're still getting the views, you're getting more actions done utilizing 360. The next phase in the funnel is the cardboard. Okay, so the cardboard is the cheapest and easiest way to have a VR experience. Now, a cardboard costs about $4 to $5, and brands, bigger brands, will send these out to everyone that's subscribed to their user base, has their app, and things like that to try and entice them to use their app more. A perfect example is Volvo. So Volvo created Volvo Reality, which is pretty much a test drive experience. And they thought, you know what, with VR coming, why does someone have to go to a dealership? Why do you have to go to a car dealership to buy a car? It's a hassle. No one likes to do it. No one likes dealing with the car dealership guy. Everyone wants to sit home and just look at things on their own, right? So Volvo created a VR experience where they sent out these cardboards to anyone that visited their site and was interested in buying a car. And what happened was they got 600,000 more downloads of their app in a 4-month period. 600,000. Now, granted, this is a big company, but that's a lot of app downloads for a car. App downloads for a car company. And we'll just do, whoops. We'll do a quick look at the video here. So they sent out their customized Volvo cardboard. People put their phones in, and then they could do a reality test drive right from their couch. Pretty cool. So then finally, we have full immersion. All right, VR, full immersion. And we're going to talk a little bit about it with the New York Times. So the New York Times is a U.S. newspaper. And obviously, as we know, newspapers, hard copies of newspapers, have been taking a hit in the digital age, right? So New York Times was trying to figure out a way to keep their viewers and to keep their subscribers. So what they did is they built a virtual reality app, and they sent their reporters around the world, and instead of reporting just in front of a news camera, they gave them a VR camera, and now they immersed them in the actual environments. And then they sent a cardboard out to every single subscriber. Okay, shipped 1 million cardboards to subscribers to test the VR app. So now instead of just listening to something on the news or reading something in the newspaper, a user, a customer, could be immersed in the actual environment of the space. All right, and they're quick. They're 5 to 6 minute, maybe 10-minute videos. And what they did was they made these VR capable, so they took it to the next level where people had the cardboard, but then if they had an actual headset, you could be fully immersed. And what we saw is that actual New York Times users bought a lot more headsets after they saw these videos through the cardboard. And we'll look at one. It's called Displaced. It's about a family in Syria. Everyone knows what's going on in Syria, correct? If you don't know, there's been a civil war in Syria, and over 20 million Syrians have been displaced from their homes. So you can kind of see what it's like to be in a classroom in Syria. And we'll move this up and down and forward so we're not just wasting time, but then they move it to people who are displaced in other countries and are having similar problems. And then they go through the everyday life of one of the individuals. So we're not going to watch the whole thing, but it just gives you a good idea of what's actually happening with some of this content and how it's enticing users to actually use these headsets and stick with these brands. So when you see, it's like if you're a New York Times subscriber and you're like, why am I paying for a newspaper? This is ridiculous. Like I just look on my phone every day. But then New York Times sends you one of these things, and now they have awesome content every day that you can look at. It kind of changes whether you want to subscribe to it or not. You're kind of like, oh, this is actually maybe worth it. This is pretty cool stuff that I can't get on the phone or on the newspaper. And that's a win for them. So the last thing we'll talk about is a little bit about augmented reality. And augmented reality is, like I said, different than virtual reality because instead of being immersed in the experience, it's interaction with real-world environments. And the main thing that augmented reality could do, specifically Project Tango that Google works with, or just Tango, not Project Tango, is measuring indoor spaces, okay, which is going to increase indoor navigation, which we'll talk about in a second. It's going to change shopping experiences. It allows people to change gaming, so you can add virtual characters into real-world environments. And then layered reality. So, for instance, when I was skiing over this past winter, there was a company that had ski goggles that looked like normal ski goggles, and they had augmented reality screen layered over the top, which is just kind of like a little bit thick layer like this big. And when I was skiing down the mountain, it would tell me which way to go based on where I wanted to end up at the bottom of the mountain. So just have arrows, almost like a video game. And that's the kind of what we're talking about with layered reality. So how is this used in the real world? Well, Lowe's Home Improvement Store, which is, if anyone doesn't know, a large kind of hardware store in the United States, teamed up with Tango and launched in-store navigation for select stores for customers. What does this actually mean? It means that if you want a product, you search online for it. Yeah, you say you search for lamps. Lowe's lamps comes up. You press the lamps, you go to the store. When you walk in, you can pull up the app, and it'll direct you like maps to the lamp. So you go directly to the product you want, which eliminates two things. One, the hassle of looking for it for yourself. Two, the hassle of talking to somebody about it. So now workers don't have to spend half their day bringing customers around saying, oh yeah, it's over here, is this. Now they can help them with whatever else they're looking for. Oh, you're doing a project, let me help you. These are different things that you can do for this. These are things you can do for gardening, whatever you want. These are the different aspects of our store. Whereas right now, who goes to a store and spends 5 to 10 minutes looking for something because they don't feel like talking to the guy that's right there helping you? I do it all the time. All right. Now this just got released, so the results, there's no real results as far as like sales or anything like that. It's only in a few stores, but it's just an idea of what's down the road. The second one is Wayfair, which is a online furniture store, and they teamed up with Tango. So Wayfair View app was just launched. It's in the newspaper. You can look it up online. And what it does is with Asus phones, you could go on, shop online in Wayfair, in the app. All right, say you want a new stool, and you're like, okay, I'm looking at stools. You see a stool you like, you click it, you then point your phone at your kitchen where you want the stool to show up, and the stool pops up right in your kitchen, as it would look. And then if you like it, you just buy it. Changing the game for e-commerce. Do you have to go to the store, buy it, get it shipped, log it in, just to find out that it doesn't fit in your kitchen? So frustrating, right? So for e-commerce, this is something to think about and consider down the road as well. Now, is this going to be released to everywhere in the next 3 months? No. These are the most innovative brands doing the first dip into augmented reality. But with that curve, like I was saying, technology is going to be moving faster and faster. And pretty soon in 2 years, you're going to be saying, wow, like AR is everywhere, right? And we'll give you a quick understanding of what it looks like from this little video. Pretty cool stuff. All right. So those are some cool brand examples, but they're not the only examples. Here's a few other examples that have gone on in the U.S. That we see are really succeeding. First one we look up right here is travel and adventure. Okay, travel apps, hotel chains, adventure apps. These guys are creating VR experiences that consumers love because, let's face it, like, would anybody like to go see the Great Wall of China? Yes. Realistically, you know, in the United States, we're not going to get there. So we can put on a VR headset and feel like we're there. There's hotel brands that maybe you want to go on a beach vacation, and then your favorite hotel puts out a VR app where you actually are sitting on the beach. Guy comes over with a little margarita or with a little umbrella or something in it, and you're sipping it and you're enjoying it. And so next time you think about a beach vacation, you're like, wow, remember that time we were looking at that VR headset and I felt like I was sitting in paradise? Let's go to that hotel. It's pretty cool. Other things are museums. Museums, it's a no-brainer there. If you want, it's more for education purposes than advertising. We see that a lot. Another cool factors is concerts and sports games. So they're putting virtual reality in the front row of sporting events and concerts. So if you put on a headset, say you want to be at the baseball championships, you put on a headset and feel like you're sitting behind the dugout. You can look around, you can watch the game. Pretty amazing stuff. And the same with concerts. If you want to go to your favorite singer, like, hey, front row. Feels like the sweat's coming right on you, right? these are the types of immersive experiences that people are looking for as of right now. So, how do you go about doing this? Well, as we talked about earlier, the number one problem, the number one thing is it's extremely expensive to produce VR and 360 at the moment. So, even though it's exciting, it's probably not the best use of money for a startup, right? Either way, we'll talk about it real quick because I told a few people that already, and they were like, yeah, that's cool, man, but just tell me how to do it. All right, let me see. So I figure we throw it in here. 3 things: content, distribution, and hardware. Those are the 3 keys that you want to think about when you're creating VR video or 360 video, as they're the same thing. We'll start with content. Questions you got to ask yourself: what is the story I'm trying to tell? Remember, with virtual reality, we're not trying to sell the product. We're trying to tell a story. There's a big difference because you don't want people thinking like, oh, okay, like on a TV commercial, they go through a story and then they show the product up at the end and you're like, yeah, buy this at your local store. That's not what this is about. People want immersive content. So you got to think about, what story do I want my brand to tell? Second thing is, you have to think in terms of episodes, not one and done. So if people watch one video, they want to watch another one. So don't just have one video and that's it. You got to think like, hey, how is this story going to keep going down the road? Which becomes more and more expensive because you got to build more and more videos. But it's something to consider. Third one, what am I giving them that they can't just get in the real world? So when you're telling your story and you're giving your episodes, if it's something they can just go down the street and do, no one's going to want to watch it. You have to give them something that they're not going to do on it every day. So for instance, going to the front row of a concert, can't necessarily do that every day. Traveling, can't necessarily do that. But there's millions of different stories you could tell that people won't do on a daily basis. And then finally, will they want to watch beyond the initial video? So how do we keep them engaged? It goes back to storytelling. Distribution. So how do we get people to understand our videos out there, our content's out there? Well, the easiest way is you're going to have to advertise. You're going to have to do it with 360 video or with display, so people know it's there. So what does that look like on your phone? Oh, Surf Monster Wave in 360. Now look at this. Surf Monster Wave in 360. This is a beer company talking about surfing. Why would a beer company talk about surfing? Make sense? Not really, but it's because they're trying to tell a different story. They're not saying, hey, come buy my beer. They're saying, hey, come surf some waves. And at the end of it, when you do want to surf some waves, guess what kind of beer you're going to want to buy next time you think about surfing waves? That beer. That's the type of story that you need to be talking about. Second wave of advertising is obviously on YouTube or Facebook, easy 360 digital marketing advertising, where you entice someone in with a video, and then you keep getting them come with other videos and other content. So for hardware, this is what everyone wants to know, and I'm going to caveat this with a few things. 360 cameras, those are kind of 4 cameras that you can use that are relatively inexpensive that produce 360 video only. Okay? These are third-party companies that also, they help out with virtual reality, with stitching and all those types of software making, if you don't want to buy the software and do it yourself. And then if you do have funds and money, this is the advanced stuff. Okay, but that's extremely expensive to buy and extremely expensive to make. And then finally, here's some more websites to check out that kind of explain how to build it if you're a developer. It explains the different types of things you're going to need. This is going to show you some other videos if you want to get some ideas, that kind of thing. So here's the big question. All that's great, but I don't have any money. What am I going to do? Why are we talking about this, right? What should I do now? Well, what you should be doing now is thinking about your marketing strategy as a whole. So who here pays for some sort of marketing? We have a few, okay? Who here has a efficient mobile and desktop website for their company? Okay, not efficient. Who here has a mobile or desktop website for their company? Okay. Who here has an actual product that they're selling? Nobody? Or a service? If you're part of a company, you have something, right? Otherwise, you guys are just hanging out thinking of ideas. That's cool too. But so what we're saying is, you got to start right here with the product, all right? So if you don't have one of those, don't worry about advertising. Second thing you should think about is once you have your product, okay, what should I be doing now? Is building a mobile-friendly website. Because like we said, when somebody watches a video in the future and they think it's cool, what are they going to do? They're going to whip the phone out of the headset. They're going to search on the phone for your website, and they're going to want to go to your site and see what it's all about. So if your site's not there, or it's not optimized for mobile, do you think they're going to stay that long on the website? No, they're going to say, man, that was a great video, but their site stinks. I don't feel like messing around with it. So this is number 2 that you should be thinking about. And then so on and so forth. Paid search, making sure you're present. So when they search for you, you're there. Display, remarketing. These types of things are more important than VR immersion, which is all the way at the top. So this funnel is kind of the digital marketing funnel where it goes from probably most costly and less performance-oriented all the way down to people buying your product. And you want to start down here. And when you perfect, so VR, just so we're understanding, this is strictly for awareness. This is for branding. People aren't buying products yet on virtual reality, right? So where you need to be spending your time is right here. When you perfect this, you got to perfect this. So if you have a perfect website, you're like, man, our website is awesome. Like, it is so easy to use. It is fast. It's easy to check out. If I have a product, it's easy to get information. All right, and you start making money. All right, or you have extra money to spend if you have investments. Then you're like, okay, let's get some awareness going. Let's optimize our site for the search engine. Let's pay for some marketing. Let's get on Facebook and social. Let's make sure people are seeing it, but only the people that are going to be in that funnel range where they're going to be searching for our keywords, right? Because we want to make sure that we're spending our money wisely at the beginning. And then once you perfect this and you start doing really well, then you can start moving on to the cooler things, just video and VR. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so just a few key takeaways to finish off here. One, it's just the beginning. This was just a talk to get you thinking about it and understanding that it'll be coming down the road and what you should be doing to prepare. How do you prepare? Start with a good digital marketing foundation, good website for your products and services, all right, and make sure that's 100% perfect. When you start doing it, you think content, think in terms of episodes, not one and done. Very important. And then finally understand that while this is cool and everyone has opportunities, it's not right for everybody. Is the cost worth the reward down the road? And then finally, at the end, content distribution hardware, which we talked about. All right, so when you're looking at this, how am I going to distribute my content? Which hardware am I going to use? How am I going to build it? Think about that all before you actually start going into this. And that is a wrap on virtual reality and AR. So thank you, and any questions? First, give me a clap. There we go.